Hello, good people. So the first part of this video, we kind of laid a foundation on alcoholism. But then I wanted to talk more on it. I wanted to give people more information. Let's explain alcoholism. Let's go deep. Let's dissect alcoholism so that we can be able to get to the root cause of it. And I mean, what are some ways that we can actually be supportive of these people instead of just lifting our hands and giving up on them? You know, if there's one thing about alcoholism that is misunderstood, is just the disease itself. Alcoholism, they say, is cunning and baffling. You know, if it was very easy for an alcoholic to stop drinking, they would just stop it. I mean, the reality is, because they see the distraction, they see what it's doing. It's tearing apart their families. It's tearing, their relationships apart. They just become like a wrecking ball everywhere they go. And it's like, why can't you stop drinking? The reality is, it's not that easy to stop drinking. If it was that easy for an alcoholic to stop drinking, they would have just snapped and stopped drinking. But the reality is, they cannot stop drinking. It's a condition. It's a craving. It's once they start drinking, they cannot stop drinking. It's a mental craving. It just goes way beyond. A lot of times, when you think about people and the way they drink, there's so many reasons as to why people drink. People drink just because they like to get high. Some people drink because they're trying to, they're in so much pain and they're trying to cover up the pain. People drink for a variety of reasons. But alcoholism is very misunderstood because you look at people and you think, because alcoholism doesn't discriminate. It affects everybody. There's been alcoholic presidents. There's been alcoholic geniuses. It affects everybody from the top to the bottom. It doesn't discriminate men, women, everybody. Nobody is immune. But then we ask the question, why can't you see the distraction this is causing you and your family and the people that you love? Why don't you stop drinking? And if it was that easy, if the consequences were that easy, some people are even faced with jail time and all those so many things. Some people drink and kill people when they're driving. And they don't still get it. Even after committing a homicide, and then you'll still find them drinking. And you're wondering, what, don't you get it? How thick are you? But the reality is, it's not as simple as how thick are you, because this disease it's very cunning and baffling. It's not just so easy as to flip a switch and you stop drinking. Not very many people can do cold turkey, wake up in the morning and then look at your distraction and you say, hey, I'm going to stop drinking because I see what this alcohol is doing in my life. You want to know this? One of the saddest things about alcoholism is oftentimes the alcoholic himself is the last person to realize that they are alcoholics. Everybody else can tell. Everybody else can tell this guy has a problem. This guy keeps drinking and pissing himself. This guy keeps drinking and blacking out. This guy keeps drinking and distracting. Acts like this guy drinks and breaks out in handcuffs. This guy keeps drinking and breaks out in DUIs. And then you ask the guy, do you think you have a drinking problem? Oftentimes, until they come to that realization, until something clicks, they're like, I don't think so. They all think that they can handle their liquor. They all think, I don't do anything wrong. I just drink and drink in my basement. Some people, some people drink out in bars. Some people drink out at home. You have so many. And there's one of the awesome things about the US is there is a lot of resources to be able to tackle alcoholism as a disease. There's a lot of self-help groups. There's AA. AA is a 12-step program that uses what they call the Big Book program to be able to break down alcoholism. And oftentimes those self-help groups, you get connected with them, you get the help because you get to be in a community of people who understand what you're going through that your family cannot understand. Because oftentimes the alcoholic is very misunderstood. People don't get it. People just don't get it. Why is it you can't stop drinking? Reality is, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to just stop drinking. And so, talking to the families, here's what I'm going to tell you. How can you support your son, your daughter, your father, your mother, or whoever, your friend, who you've realized that has a problem with drinking? How can you support them? How can you be able to assist them fight this battle? Because you don't want to enable them. You don't want to keep them in the house and keep providing them, keep making it easy for them to drink. And the saddest truth about this is, until the alcoholic wants to stop drinking, unfortunately, there is nothing you can say to help to stop them from drinking. They can literally kill somebody while driving, and then while out on bail, go drink. That is just how twisted alcoholism is. Until they come to the realization that I am sick and tired of being sick and tired, I'm sick and tired of living this life, nothing you can tell them. You can't. There's no magic phrase you can tell them to stop drinking. They have to get it, and they have to want it for themselves. You cannot love them into stopping to drink. You cannot force them into stopping to drink. You can put them in rehabs. You can do all those so many things. You can take them to AA. You can put them in jail. But unless they want to stop drinking, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to help them. Nothing. And here's the reality too. For the alcoholic, they cannot just stop drinking because they want to save a relationship. They can't just stop drinking because they want to be a good father. You cannot stop drinking for somebody else, for some other reason, to be out of court, because they got caught. The judge gave them something that they need to take to meetings to be signed on. That way they stay out of jail. You cannot. No judge can make you stop drinking. Until the alcoholic wants to stop drinking by himself, there is nothing you can do to stop them from drinking. So here comes. So how do you help them? How do you help somebody who has to actually want help himself? You have to be there for them. You have to be there for him. You gotta realize that guilt tripping them and shaming them and just belittling them and putting them down and just constantly tearing them doesn't help at all. Actually, what you do when you do that, you actually make them drink even more. Until they come to a breaking point, until they come to a point they feel like they're sick and tired of being sick and tired and they want to do it for themselves, there's nothing you can do to stop them. So, how can you help as family? You can love on someone like that. You can love them even without understanding them. Because it's very hard to understand why is it they do what they do. But you can be there for them. So here are the things that you can do, whether it's family or your friends. Here's something you can do to help somebody that is struggling with alcoholism, And man, I love God. I do. But oftentimes we feel like, if we bring in a pastor and they lay our hands on this person, they can exorcise the demons and the demons will get out. And that oftentimes doesn't work, unfortunately. It's it's a disease, and it's cunning and baffling, you know. And it's borrowing something from what they have in the big book. Is they say, they say a lack of power is their dilemma. The problem is they don't have a power. They need a power that is greater than themselves. And oftentimes it takes them getting back to God. But I mean, sometimes laying hands on them and rebuking and all those will do very little. But guiding them in the right way so that they can find that power for themselves is often the best way you can help them. So how can you help them? There's resources that are available here in the US that you can help people who are struggling with alcoholism. One of the things is, they have rehab facilities that you can take them. Some rehab facilities, they have the 12-step programs, and some of them do it very differently. But that's one key, is to take them to a rehab. And, oftentimes if you cannot have that person in your home, just because the distraction, sometimes it's, when you get to the bottom of the barrel, they're stealing to go get a drink. They're hiding drinks. They're causing distraction. Sometimes there's violence. There's all those things. And so if you don't want them, if there's no way you can keep them in your house, there's oftentimes other housing, arrangements that are available that people don't know about. They have sober living houses. Sober living houses are places where you can move them for, it's usually cheap places that you can get. Sober living houses are somewhere, $400, $500, $600 a month. And, one of the requirements that is required is they have to be sober. So you can find them a sober living facility. There's a lot of them. But also in the sober living facility, one of the things they're required to be sober. And so that means they're either involved in going into those 12-step meetings, AA meetings, those self-help groups to get help. But that could be an alternative, instead of, them living under the bridge, living homeless under, and depending on what state they live in, sometimes, hypothermia, they could die of that. And so that could be another option that you could do it for them. The other thing is, whether it's your husband or your wife, because this thing affects everybody, you gotta love them. And there is a lot of AA, Alcoholic Anonymous meetings that are available. You could take them to AA meetings, and most importantly, love and pray for them. And there's also other help that is available. So if you're dealing with an alcoholic, there's often another program on the other side of it, which is Al-Anon. Al-Anon is people who are affected, people who are living, is the people who are affected by alcoholics. And maybe going, there's Al-Anon meetings. Maybe you could go to those meetings to be able to understand an alcoholic better, to understand how to best help an alcoholic. They're called Al-Anon meetings. So, those are a few ways that you can be able to help an alcoholic. And I hope you guys can learn and start using some of this, as opposed to just, waiting for somebody to die, and then after they die, we come together, we contribute money, and then we ship their bodies to Kenya, to Africa, to get them and they get buried. Oftentimes, this alcoholic deaths are often very lonely and painful. These people often die by themselves. I mean, I know, one of our friends died by himself with nobody there. Because, again, as a community, we didn't know how to support a person like that. They died heartbroken by themselves. And oftentimes that's what happens, is people are found at their homes dead by themselves. Nobody. People die in jail. Nobody goes to visit them. People die on the streets, under bridges, in homeless shelters. They just collapse and die. And then they're just labeled John Doe, as if they never existed. I really hope we can start this conversation on how is it that we can come together and do more than just contribute money for send-off? How can we keep our people alive? How can we educate ourselves to be able to be better, do better? For our young people, our older people, this disease, again, it's not discriminatory. It affects a lot of people. Different ages, different colors. Nobody is immune. So I really hope you're listening. I really hope, as a Kenyan African community in the US, I hope we're listening. We need to do better, be better for the people that we love, and not just raise our hands and give up and wait for them to die. God bless you guys.